It's September 4th, 8:27 a.m., and it is Wednesday morning. I have decided to make another video. I don't know when the last time I posted a video. I think it was Monday. I took some time yesterday and worked on a project that I had mentioned before. I am working on a four-part video. I guess you can call it a series, but it's going to be on my playlist of my view on the education system and me constructing an ideal model for the education system to revise it. Sorry. And so, I'm starting off with the first video that I'm making. I'm just kind of describing my situation and then also going over other people who have accomplished great works here in the United States and in other countries, people who are described uh, with the same sort of characteristics like me, someone who is focuses on learning, not necessarily focusing on how you're obtaining this information, but just knowing to utilize the information that you receive and put it into practice. And this can be done in many different areas. And so, when you think about it, you can be skilled at multiple things. Um, so I wanted to go over some of these messages that I got because I was writing down, some thoughts that were, floating through my mind yesterday. And I will say that I was in deep thought yesterday. And, this is my mind, okay? I have a very complex mind, mainly because I continue to have anxiety because, I was stalked for very many years because of this program. And the it causes me sometimes, just to have to, kind of sit back and do some meditation and kind of calm myself down, get my thoughts together. And then also, I deal with, the anxiety, the depression over that. And then also, I've never really had, the sort of stability that a lot of other people have. So there's a lot of things that I deal with, right? So, but I have been getting a lot of intuitive messages, and I've been writing them down. And this one I thought was really important for me to communicate because, I made a I mentioned the tragedy that occurred. I made it a part of my Monday Merriment video last Monday. And I'm not going to go too much into it, but if you saw the video, basically I have been really putting together these information in general that I've, gathered throughout my life, okay, in different sources, okay, like, I've read books published by authors. I know I spent a lot of time in the library. I mentioned, researching the origins of the Jehovah's Witness faith. I know I've studied the Bible when I was younger. I know that I have, when it comes to Christianity, I've been exposed to different forms. I not only studied the Bible when I was younger, I studied things like Mormonism too. Because I know my dad used to talk about Mormons a lot, and I remember getting a copy of the Book of Mormon, and I found Mormons very interesting. So this is, the thing is like I had mentioned in one of my videos about me feeling like I needed to understand and crack the code of this whole issue about religion. And I wanted very, very much to cut through the confusion because having a relationship with God was the most important thing in my life and has always been. Okay, so like I said, it explains why, when I was young, I was on this mission to get answers because C.B. Berganza had unfinished issues. Okay, now what carried over when C.B. Berganza died, his mind must have been filled with so much injustice and trying to figure out like what the hell happened. You know what I mean? I do believe that him and my father both understood throughout the course of their life that they were not comfortable with this agenda. They were not comfortable with it. But the sad part about I'm going to call it what happened in the past, okay? And because of the mind control that went on with it, a lot of people got sucked up into the whirlwind of this master plan. I'm going to call it the demiurge web, okay? The demiurge web. A lot of people who have practiced Christianity, a lot of people who may not have even, I will tell you, people who have watched this whole thing unfold, and the people who have participated in it, there are often times where those people who were orchestrating things behind the scenes, the puppeteer doing the puppeteering, they would put people in positions where they would, bully them half to death, or basically to death, okay, until they complied. Much like my father. This is one of the reasons. And they do all kinds of things to destroy them and all this other stuff, okay? So, when people don't question authority, this is what the problem is. But the sad part is, that society was so ignorant that they never even thought that they could question authority, because there was something in place to where they felt so much fear, okay, that they're afraid to bring it up. I get the feeling that there was a lot of people who were involved in this throughout their life, not even necessarily relating to my issue, who have always felt like they were boxed in and they were living in fear, okay? Now, with all the information that I've been putting together based on things relating to the Bible, okay, and I have read the Bible, and I will say that when it comes to my feelings, like I said, before, when I was younger, there were times where I kind of discussed this in my upcoming video, but let me explain on this video. When I was reading certain books, when I was, and throughout the course of my life, okay, and I've read them through different sources. Like I said, I used to go to Barnes and Noble a lot. I used to go to Borders Books. I used to go to Walden Books. These are all, older stores. And I remember I used to go to secondhand bookstores. I used to go to get books at the library. Not only did I buy regular books by publishers, okay? This is a little bit more of me talking about what an autodidact is, okay? But I will explain more in my in the video that I'm going to be releasing. But because I'm somebody who is self-learned, I took advantage of every opportunity to get educated because of my problems dealing with, well, it wasn't really that main reason. I've always been a self-taught type person. But I will say, because I was targeted, sometimes it put me in situations where, like, when I talked about ditching school so I can go to the library, sometimes it put me in situations where, I had nothing else to do but, read, because, I was stuck in the library. And also, I was always pulled in by intrigue and interest of these particular topics. So, I've always tried to have an unbiased opinion about the things that I've read, because one thing I didn't like that I had noticed since I was a kid is I knew that ego, going into something that you're supposed to be devoted to, something that you are supposed to make things sacred, okay? Sacred means that you kind of, you have to be honest in my belief system, okay? Meaning that I don't want any false pride in my belief system. And so, I remember the arrogance that I used to have to deal with a lot of being bullied growing up. And I knew that I wasn't comfortable if, reading books that were written by Black people, because I didn't want to grasp for straws. I didn't want to be somebody who was prideful just because I can associate with a group to be the nanny, I'm better than you type thing, okay? I understood that was not really the main point of why Black people were writing these books, but I also wanted to make sure that I never, ever had accept a belief system just because it was something that gave me a little bit of a boost of a self-esteem. It either had to be true or I can't deal with it, so it has to be rejected, but I would read it anyway. Now I'm starting to see, certain, things about the Bible. I'm starting to consider things, look at things a little bit closer. Okay, now when I'm talking about the Bible, and switching conversations, I am not bringing race into this issue. I'm talking about, just looking at information with an open mind, unbiased opinion that I would collect throughout the years. Because, I'm going to tell you, certain things that you read in the school system is going to be different than one of those books that you picked up, in the library. I will also say there are certain education materials that were printed a long time ago, maybe had been released like in the 1960s, and because more information has been found out, some educational textbooks get updated, right? And I will say that I used to collect and buy textbooks, okay, because I knew that when and I started doing this, I would say, when I was like 19 years old, okay? And what bothered me is because I was angry that I was so behind with everything because I had to leave high school. And I wanted desperately to make sure that I knew stuff. I was always somebody who just like, okay, and I remember making attempts to teach myself French, okay? Unfortunately, I was not able to really get that deep into it because I had to work. I had a work life and all this other stuff. But my point is that, I'm a person who also felt like I had to make up lost time in my own way because I was never like really comfortable being in different areas and whatever. Okay. But anyway, let's talk about how I'm starting to look at the Bible, and how I'm starting to, realize or see it in a different way. And I've had these suspicions for a very long time. I remember the first time this thought came to my mind was, I would say, about a year and a half ago. Okay, and it was unrelated, but what I was thinking is that, I understand that the Bible is written in a very cryptic way. Okay, I mean, and a lot of people pull scriptures from it, because I will say that the Bible has some truth to it. And I remember, I've always believed that even the most outrageous lie has an element of truth in it. Why? Because uh, it makes it believable or whatever. It's part of mind control. And I do think that this is my opinion, which I feel as though I have the right to say this. I know that there in the Bible there's a lot of talk about bloodlines and tribes and separations of it. People wanting to claim to be like the chosen, blah 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 blah. Yeah, the whole drive about trying to be the chosen tribe. Okay, and so now I'm starting to see how much of a role this particular bloodline has played in the grand scheme of things when it comes to Christianity. Okay, now this is not me bashing them because I'm going to say I'm talking about the current generation of those in this place, and the reason why I'm saying this is because this institution of the release of the demiurge energy that got unleashed upon the earth was something that was done, hundreds of years ago. Okay, if not, yeah. Okay, so when you think of the people carrying out the same duty, especially somebody who has a line of duty, following orders over and over and over again, this systematic form of spreading this, what I'm going to call a deadly cancer, the cancer that destroys cultures, the cancer that destroys people's visions, happiness, joy, everything. I believe that I am now looking at the Bible as a playbook that was written by people who had an agenda, who belonged to secret societies. If you want to call it like the Illuminati or whatever, it wouldn't surprise me. I do know that, when it comes to things like mind control, and, the game of war, oftentimes throughout history, there were, for example, I want to say that Christianity would kind of side with both sides, behind the scenes, okay?
and do a lot of things like they do that, like in this situation where we have like, you know, it's a obviously it is a Nazi type of agenda that needed to be spread, and it needed to be propagated, and they use other people even though they're not even though they're not white, right? There's ways of manipulating people. It's a way of uh, spreading their agenda, even though they're sucking like black people into it, even though they're sucking Jewish people into it, right? Or whatever other race of people that they're sucking into it. They are accomplishing their agenda. And they do this through different means, through, you know, organizations and stuff like this. Okay, but the church to me, um,
The church, Christianity, uh, it was like, to me, I looked at Christianity as a trap, is a trap uh, that destroys destroys people. And I think that Christianity is the kind of an example of, the weird thing about the Bible is, like, how it talks about, broad and spacious is a road leading to everlasting life. And broad and spacious is a road leading to destruction, and straight and narrow is the path to everlasting life. Okay, I would say that that's kind of true, because when you think about how many people believed, and that's what I'm saying, is like, it's like a weird playbook. It's like a weird coded message. And it's very strange, okay? But then, you think about secret societies. Okay, what I'm saying is that, Christianity was a very widely spread religion, okay? And it was even infiltrating in areas where it should not have been infiltrating. Like, for example, infiltrating into government, even though that's not supposed to happen. Okay, infiltrating into government, and influencing people in, taking a role outside of a spiritual life and entering it and forcing other people to acknowledge their form of religion. And I had mentioned that, even though I've never like formally joined a religion, I I never outright spoke against my feeling on this issue until just recently, when I realized that my targeting was getting ridiculous. But I noticed that a lot of people that I meet, from coming over here from other countries, like, a lot of the Indian people, I would see people from, other countries, who don't practice Christianity. Christianity's in their country, but, I would see they would come over here, and it was almost like they had to kind of modify, change their views a little bit. Some of these people just actually converted to Christianity, and if that's their choice, that's their choice. But if they feel pressured to where, they are, being abused, like me, because they don't choose to do that. To me, that is, it's almost like Christianity is the broad and spacious road, meaning, like, that's what the majority is going to go through. That's what the majority was forced to go through. Okay, and it was a road leading to destruction. Because I'm going to tell you, I have never met one mentally sound Christian. I know that, and see, the thing is, why I'm afraid, in the past, why I was afraid of speaking my opinion, is because I have been in a controlled program among people who would bully me, and I would have some sort of repercussion for anything that I ever did. Anything. Okay? Like, you saw the big deal they made over the hair. Okay? And so, I have always had my opinions about, like, I remember looking at my sister and not agreeing with her marriage, the way that her husband treated her. I remember, thinking that her church, I remember she looked at these people as her sisters, okay? And she was supposed to value her church sisters over her family, because this was her real family, her church family, okay? So when her church sisters
were sitting here, being selfish and thinking of themselves, bullying her for not, for what she's supposed to do. If she's in a relationship, she's going to dress for her boyfriend, right? Not overly sexy, but, you're going to wear his colors, you're going to do that kind of stuff. Okay, they were bullying her over that. Okay, they've struck over the line, and they do things that they use religion as an excuse to, to satisfy their own selfish wants.
Okay, Christianity, um, in my opinion, now, I mean, I'm looking at this, how they plowed through all of this. So many people lost their lives. Okay, and so let me get back to what the message that I wrote was. Is that I believe that the people who are watching this video, if you are watching this video right now, I believe that based on the devil's playbook, which is the Bible, that you just survived Armageddon. I really do believe that. And I do believe that, I know that sounds crazy, right? But I'm looking at this whole situation, and we're talking about bloodlines, okay? And they like to play things, they like to create things and dangle it in people's faces. They like to be very subtle with their messages. Not subtle, but they like to be very, how can I say this? Kind of like, types party stuff, okay?
This is part of my targeting, right? The harassment, the weird demonic, contact that I would have to experience. But yes, I do believe that based on the devil's playbook, and if you're watching this video, you just survived Armageddon. So I'm going to go into the next message. The next message is, I have been communicating, because anytime someone loses their life, okay, I take it very seriously. Even people who are my enemy. I just mentioned this issue on Monday, right? And so apparently there's other people who passed on as well because of their, okay, I could say it's foolishness, but it's also a part of their, a part of their mission. A failed mission, mind you, but it's part of their mission. Like I had talked about, some of the clones that were involved in this, that family, or their interconnected family had put in place for this whole thing to snowball in the way that it did. You know what I mean? These people literally don't have any other reason but to be agents for the demiurge. This is what they did, and this is the only sort of actions that they carry out. They're like hollowed souls. They have souls, obviously, because they departed from this, and I'm able to communicate it. But what I'm saying is that while they were here on the earth, okay, they had lived to me, a very pathetic life. And I remember having these sort of conversations. This is one of the reasons why I always kind of tuned them out when I was a teenager. I never could get into them when I was younger. And I think the reason why is because, to me, when I would look at them, all I could see are people that didn't know or had no concept of what freedom was. They had no concept of what freedom was. Okay, and this is the reason why to me, it's just like, okay, well, those people again, I'm going to turn the channel. Or if I saw them on my mom's cover book, I would just be like, okay, that it just didn't register. Okay, and I do understand that this goes back in a past life for me. It goes back in a past life. And I know that I was royalty in my past life. Me and my father, but at the time he was King Tut, and I myself was his wife. I might have played an indirect role when it came to politics. And when I say politics, it's like um, people who are in positions of power. I must have had an aversion to it. And you know what I've always had an aversion to? Ego. I've always had an issue with ego because I believe, as a spiritual person, that the ego is what trips you up every time. Okay? And some people, I know people accuse me of having a big ego. I would say I'm a very confident person. I'm very confident. Why is it that I can sit here and say such direct things to people who are considered to be important? And the reason why I can do it is because I'm telling the truth. Okay.
It is not about ego. When sometimes you have to just come right out and say what needs to be said, so you can clear the air and get and start back and have a clean slate, so you can get on with your life. Okay, and so this is what I did. So I don't have, when you're speaking truth, you don't have a problem with it. Okay, now I felt as though they didn't have a life, and I also felt as though they were people who lacked empathy. Okay, and I had read books, by David Icke, and I do believe that I was divinely led to read those about 20 years ago. Okay, and it's funny because, well, when I was reading it, I remember the first time I started looking at his book, I experienced insomnia. And the reason why I must have done that is because on some level it was sinking in to where I knew that shit must be true. I mean, because it's like I had started noticing things, around me, and I started questioning, having my own questions, and he was just sitting there confirming it in my book, in his book. You know what I mean? And I was like, dang, it's just, and I'm not somebody who wants to believe anything. I don't. And like I said, like, I've always looked at things like, objectively, or, because I don't want to have a biased opinion, but I believed what he wrote in his book. Now, I didn't know if, like, we talked about actual reptilians, like actual whatever. Was that figuratively? I was like, okay, and that's hard for me to wrap my brain around. Now, at this point, you know what? Probably. Okay, but whatever. But I wanted to say that the message I had was that heaven is a kingdom that spirits enjoy as paradise, and it's open down to other dimensions and travel to earth. There's flexibility. And this is one of the messages that I had received by a few people that have passed on. And I know this sounds very strange, but I do have some spirits are hovering over me, because even though that they may have proclaimed to be my enemy, they didn't really want to betray me, and it hurt them very bad that they had to do with what their earthly authority erroneously led them into. Okay, there are some people who left this earth feeling tremendous guilt. Okay, but yes, some of these people made it into heaven. Okay, also heaven is bliss, and there is happiness in heaven. Forget cloning. Freedom is 100% guaranteed in heaven. Um, I wanted to also talk about, I got a message about the new earth. Okay. I know that there's some work going on behind the scenes to try to, I don't know, because I haven't actually stepped out. Okay, like for example, I'm looking for work right now. Okay, so I will hopefully see differences or change. I don't know if these laws are going to be worked on in the future, like for, after the elections or whatever. I don't know all this, but this is a spiritual message that people are working on laws to, lawmakers and politicians are bringing a new earth is being formulated with laws in my favor for people who are targeted individuals. This is a message that I'm getting. Okay, I have not seen anything posted on the news about it or anything like that. That must be in the works or discussed. I don't know, but I certainly hope so. Now, I know that people like Jehovah's Witnesses believe in things like the new earth. Maybe their idea is a little far-fetched, or maybe the expectations are a little too high. Okay, but do I believe that maybe, things can change to where Earth, we could buffer the blow of the moon, the mundane, the regular life? Could we make things a little better? There might be. Now that certain people have been removed, maybe, you know what I mean? I hate to be optimistic when it comes to Earth, only because um, I have lived under darkness for so long, and so has so many other people. Okay, I know that I was a main target in this, but there's a lot of people who have always felt like there was always a gun pointing to their head. Okay, there's always been that gun pointing to people's head, being forced and doing certain things.
okay, that they really didn't want to do. I have always,
I also want to say about this particular family, okay, and I'm going to say this particular family whose ancestors created, so much suffering and waste on the earth. Okay, suffering and waste is absolutely. I remember looking at them and thinking how when I was younger, okay, and didn't understand how complex that sort of lifestyle was. All I knew was is that they had a lot of stuff, had a lot of stuff, and that but yet they never really seemed genuinely happy. You know what I mean? And I used to think, wouldn't it be? Don't you ever get like on a roller coaster ride? Do you ever? I'm the kind of person that wants people to be happy. You know what I mean? And I always wish that they didn't have to live like that. To me, the whole monarchy thing, I understand you want to have respect your family line. I get that, okay? But they, by the whole cloning thing and using members and not having, I mean, loveless life, okay? But in heaven, they can feel complete. Um, okay, so I did briefly mention in this video about me taking this education thing very seriously, okay? Because what I witnessed were a lot of people who tried to belittle me, and I'm also going to talk about, they tried to belittle me. Like I said, because of the circular argument about, I was a Nazi experiment, okay? So, and also when I look at this from the Devil's Playbook, and I'm going to refer to the Bible as the Devil's Playbook, um, I believe that, I was a target, and they looked at a part of their goal was to take me out, okay? To take me out. And this was been going on since I was a kid. To take me out before I was even got old enough. I mean, when I think about bullying somebody to that point, even as a little kid, I remember they even had a boy, actually two boys, punched me when I was a kid. Now you would think, oh, you don't do that to a girl, right? But the kind of shit that I had to put up with this was just absolutely ridiculous. Okay. When it comes to my education experiment, I'm trying to let people know that, and also see the possibility of having a better quality of life, because I was put in a situation where I had to be on the outside looking in, meaning like, okay, I wasn't wanted in school, I was bullied in school, so I went out and did my own thing, okay? And I could see when I would have conversations with people, whether that be at work, or maybe sometimes I would do maybe reading an article, even seeing a YouTube video. I would hear about their experiences with their higher level education, and I could tell a lot of people don't really know the things that they're supposed to know, but yet they brag about being degreed individuals. So my education, design is to incorporate. Let me see. I have it written down here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, there's 4 things. Okay, now I'm breaking it down to what's important. I believe in the education system. Okay, the first thing is a core rule. Okay, based on behavior, expectations, psychology, and laws. Okay, and I'm serious. I'm going to go more into these videos. Like I said, there's 4 videos I'm making. The first video is about autodidacts, which is a formal term for people like me who are self-taught. And I'm going to talk about other self-taught individuals in this video, okay? And the next videos I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be talking about this reconstructing of the school system. Right now, I need to gather information on what is currently being taught in the school system. Okay, obviously I'm 53 years old, so I've been out of there for a while. Okay, I know that my son went to public school, And then he finished up in high school through a private homeschool education system. But I do believe that me understanding behavioral expectations, and this something should be taught, I believe, in early childhood, and then understanding, applying elements of psychology that would be instructed through the education system, and applying the legal system as well. Incorporating aspects of all of these things in their behavior, the expectations of their behavior. Also, I'm talking about citizenship. Citizenship is something that should be taught, which kind of goes along with the core rule. Okay, citizenship is something that making sure that their behavior is they're setting a standard for their behavior and swift execution of that. That does not mean that school has to be unpleasant, because we're talking about kids. You have to have a reasonable environment. But see, the point is that kids need to understand morals as well. Okay, and yeah, I do believe that. The reason why, we have a society of what I'm going to say, very unmotivated people, and people who don't know right from wrong, is because their parents don't know right from wrong. Their grandparents didn't know right from wrong, and it goes all the way down the chain. And guess who I'm going to blame for that? I'm going to blame the dark forces of Christianity that plays a large role in it. Oh, yes, I am. Okay, because I can see that based on this experiment that was supposed to be an experiment on me, and my experiment was to observe outside world, I can tell a lot of people have no sense of morality whatsoever. Okay, so this is a problem, and this should be, in order to have the school system is meant, okay, ideally, okay, I'm going to talk about what's ideally, and then what was previously, or what may be currently set under the current system of indoctrination. Okay, an education system, its purpose is to create individuals that are going to contribute to society and the economy. Okay, contribute to the society by having good conduct, keeping the flow of relations good, knowing how to behave. Seriously, that is something that should be taught in the home when the kid's younger, and it should be reinforced by the education system. Okay, and then the education system should raise people to contribute to the society and the economy, and also, of course, it's to help develop career skills. See, now my plan of to do this is to look at all the years that typically people spend in grade school, okay, and then also incorporate life things that are related to things that we need to know, like within the education system, and then also transferable job skills within these grades. Okay, so any additional knowledge that needs to be learned, like let's say, for example, after if my model plan was taken seriously and actually put into place, okay, after 12th grade, what is a person to do? My goal is to, or my vision is to have people work ready by the time they leave school, and if they need additional things, like for licensing type stuff, that it would be no more than 2 additional years. Okay, because what happens when people enter the college system is like, okay, you got to take all these required classes on top of what you need to know to be whatever. Okay, I feel as though college is obviously, based on what I've seen and experienced, and what other people say, because I listen and I pay attention. College really is not worth the money, okay, and it's not worth the time and the drain. And I'm thinking about the quality of life. Okay, what else do I want to say really quick? So, and I also think after people have these particular skills, and if they did want to enhance those skills, like they want to be a doctor or a lawyer or whatever, then they can spend 2 additional years, because most of, even things like understanding things like anatomy, okay, should be taught in the grade school and be worked up all the way to grade 12. in my revision, so that people understand the body. They understand enough about the what do you call it, the health system. They're going to know what a lymph node is. Okay, they're going to know, what your brain functions are and the different parts of the brain, and it's going to be reinforced in some way the next year over and over again. Not saying over and over again to where it becomes repetitive, to where it becomes in practice and you fully understand it. Therefore, if they wanted to be a doctor, like understand how to work like surgeon, then they can take another 2 years after that. So that hopefully once they exit school, they could choose to start families if they wanted to. Their life expectancy is not going to be drained by an additional expense. It's not going to be drained by wasting their time in an institution that seems like a gamble. Okay, that way if they produce children, they have a longer lifespan to that where they can spend more quality time with them. Okay, because the purpose to me of education should be to enhance one's life fully, not just for the job, but should be able to enhance one's life, to show them how to live correctly. You understand? Okay, so now when the system that I grew up in, when it came to school, there was a lot of indoctrination, and I understand that, and when you live in a country, the country wants to promote amount of pride in it. That way, and I don't mean to be dark, but okay, here's the thing. Okay, I always kind of felt like the reason why a lot of the indoctrination was going on is so that you can promote good citizenship, and unfortunately under the guise of indoctrination is you can get people ready for things like war without question. I mean, that's the way I looked at it. Okay, and see, the thing is that it's not that I understand sometimes war is necessary, but I also feel as though it's the country's responsibility to establish a country that's worth fighting for. I did that sound like, I'm always very scared about talking about how I feel, because I've always been like paid some sort of consequence by speaking my mind. Okay? I've always felt like every time I said something, did something, wore something, sneezed, breathed, I was going to have some sort of negative consequence to pay. All right? So yeah, I do have my political views. I do have my vision, and most of the time, this is how I keep quiet about it. All right, I keep quiet about it for several reasons. I don't like getting into arguments, but because I was faced with something that was very life-threatening and something that disturbed me for the longest time, and I could see that. And I've always had my suspicions about the education system throughout, even when I was like in first grade, because I knew that there were people like Henry Ford and stuff like that who managed just fine without the education system. Okay, but anyway, that's my my whole goal on this whole education program. I was thinking about calling it Life Learners. You know how you have a playlist? I'm going to be making a playlist. I haven't decided what to call it yet, but I'm thinking about calling it Life Learners. Okay, so I did get an intuitive message that universities and colleges benefited certain individuals in positions of power. Okay, and this could be the main reason to start. Okay, I do know that a lot of the jobs, when my mom was younger, my adoptive mom was younger, like things like being a nurse. Okay, certain things did not require a college degree, but people realized that, glorified and glamorized college, and then people kind of started making it a part of your career. Now, in the beginning, universities really didn't focus that much on careers per se. It was more like, how to be eloquent. I mean, yeah, there were curriculums, definitely there was curriculums. But it was a little bit more prestigious back then. But now, we have, just regular jobs, was not necessarily associated with these kind of institutions of learning. Like, to be a secretary, you didn't need to go to a university to do that. I remember, there was different ways of earning work credit when I was a teenager, and a lot of people entered the workforce just on things like work credit. Like I remember there was this program where you could work in the office, I think maybe 1 day a week, okay, and that was like work credit to like and skills that you can learn to become a secretary. So if you if you were to graduate school, you could, I mean, from graduating school, and you want to start look for a job, you could say, hey, I worked at the school. That was like a career time builder type thing. And I also do think that intern programs are important. I did remember reading an article about interns who felt very disappointed. They were like college interns who felt really disappointed when they would go to a company and come in to be an intern, and then the company would have them do stupid stuff like take out the trash and be like some sort of gopher. Okay, no, and that's a waste of people's time. Okay, intern programs should be teaching people the current working skills, the current working programs, whatever it is, for people to know at the time. So like if it's 2024, the idea for a intern to work for a company is to understand like the current software programs. How do you do something? How do you actually put things into place? And see, intern programs should be improved. They really should. But I also know, going back to the issue of it benefiting certain individuals, I have that suspicion, okay? Because, when I think about a lot of the professions that used to require maybe just high school or, maybe additional 2 year of a trade school, that used to be things like secretaries, that used to be whatever. As when I was in high school, things like shorthand, typing, secretarial skills were taught in high school, okay? Now, and they can still be taught in high school. You know what I mean? I personally think, but whatever. I also want to say that, when I think about some of the jobs that I have, as I was sitting there at work, there were times I would be thinking, you know what? I swear to you, I could train an 8th grade student to do this job. And I also think about how many people have said this themselves. I knew a bunch of people who talked about how angry they were that they went to college, and then when they go to the workplace is already going to train them their way anyway. Okay, so people get really upset when they start sitting back thinking about, okay, with the time that they spent and the debt that they owe. Okay, now next message I got. Okay, I was thinking about this is okay. Okay, currently the United States works on a mixed economy. Okay, they are there's government involvement when it comes to licensing and regulations. Their approval of the food and medical medicine, like through the FDA or whatever. And then there's advertising that has to get government approval. I believe that's the FTC or whatever. And I can say that when it comes to, I do understand that the government has to play some role in all of those sort of things. But do I agree with some of the things that go on? And I wish that could change. But like for example, okay, I do think the cost of food is extremely high. And I also think that the FDA. Well, should I be complaining about the FDA for this reason? I think that's a different agency, but I do have an issue with the medical system. I don't believe the medical system is currently designed to actually heal anybody. I think it's just people being used as guinea pigs. Okay, personally, I am not somebody who's a promoter of big pharma, but I do think that a vibrant body is important to have. And the only way that you're going to have that is not through medicine, it's going to be through the food. And I do know that there's a lot of issues with like toxic chemicals and stuff like that on food and stuff like that. That's a nightmare. And so why am I talking about this? Is because I don't know. I'm getting messages in my mind to bring it up, and I think maybe the reason why this message is floating around and why I'm bringing it up is because people think that I walk around and not think about these things, but I do think about these things. I do think about these things, okay? And I always felt as so because there has been so much infiltration within the government system from where people really shouldn't have been in the first place. There's a lot of like, I think that there's definitely room for improvement if it's possible to improve. You know what I mean? If it's possible to improve those things. Okay, next message. Okay, my ideal form of what do you call it? Economy. I guess my idea of the economy system would be free enterprise, laissez-faire type. For those who don't know what that means, it means the conduct of economic activity without government interference. And that's where I'm at on that. But like I said, but that's me, okay? It's me. But those are my feelings, okay? Because I know people are like, what do you believe? Okay, I'm telling you what I believe right now. Okay? I'm telling you what I believe. And the reason, maybe another reason why I'm telling you what I'm believing right now is maybe because I'm hopeful that things will be better, because after Armageddon, maybe things can be better. And I'm not banking on it. I'm not banking on it, but I'm trying to be optimistic. You know what I mean? For however long I have to be in this place. Also, the last message I wanted to say is that what the sad part about people such as the family who the damnation of the ancestors of this particular family didn't get a chance to realize, and this is the saddest part, I think, is that when you're here on this earth, simplicity is everything. And you can have like a horse and buggy, and you can have like extremely expensive clothes, and you can have all of that stuff. But I personally have realized, and this is one of the reasons why maybe I may have come off as seeming weird to these people, because maybe they thought that I was going to be impressed with everything that they had. But the thing is that I believe that greatness is that cup of coffee, sipped in the sunlight, on a morning where you're spending in solitude. Something very basic as that. Honestly, I don't believe that life gets any better than that. And I think a lot of people have this weird idea that, there's more than that in life. And this is why they end up disappointed. This is one of the reasons why I fixate myself on small little things, tiny little things. Okay? You can rise to greatness. You can have all the materialism that you want to, but there's always a bad side to that. There's always a bad, and not, don't get me wrong, I mean, if I could get the hell out of this beat up apartment, I would. If I could upgrade my furniture, I certainly would, but that's not going to solve all my problems. And no matter what, like, and here, in life here, it's like, okay, you could live a life where you are being bullied to be something that you're not, okay, and there's misery in that, okay. And of course, the main goal in this life is to combat as much hell as you possibly can. So I feel as though, I'm somebody who lives a life that I think I live pretty well, meaning I live a decent life, okay? But when you do improve your life, or if you, increase the amount of material possessions you have, the bad side about that is a lot of times you lose your friends and you lose your support system. Okay, so yeah, in life, it's, it seems like you're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. Okay, so I step away from all that, and I just enjoy the things here on earth, like the wonderful things, like, the flowers, the intense sunlight, the beauty around me. Because anything more than that, you're basically asking for trouble. I'm going to wrap up this video, and I will be back with another video sometime later. And I hope that you guys look forward to seeing the work that I'm going to be producing. Take care. Bye-bye.